Hey everybody, I just finished another book in the Goosebumps series 2000 books series. This is Brain Juice. I actually have read this book and all of the other series 2000 books before, but I'm going back and trying to reread all of them along with the original series. I'm reading the Give Yourself Goosebumps, Fear Street, all the fun stuff. But yeah, I actually have a little bit of nostalgia for this book because even though I read this as an adult, I do remember seeing this book around as a kid. Um, so I think before I even knew what the Series 2000 book series was, I remember sitting in class and there was a student that had this book and she was reading it. And I remember staring across the room and looking at this weird brain looking cover and thinking it was really gross, but I really wanted to know what it was about. And I didn't even know what the name of the book was at the time. I just remember seeing this brain. And yeah, I remember reading this as an adult and a couple years ago, and I loved it. And this time I read it, um, I don't think I loved it quite as much, but it was still pretty good. It wasn't terrible or anything like that. It was okay. The story itself starts off with these two aliens, Morgul and Gobul. If I mispronounce that, who cares? But they are looking for slaves for their emperor in their uh, whatever planet they're from or whatever. And they're hiding in this doctor's pantry, and the doctor's name is Dr. King. And they assume that his name is Dr. King. He is the king of scientists. Like, he knows everything. And they need very smart people for their slaves. Like, they can't have dumb people or anything like that. And in their eyes, I think the human race is not as smart as they are. All this cool stuff. So anyway, um, we go to these two kids. They're at this Dr. King's house. They're knocking on the door, or ringing the doorbell, and the doctor comes to the door, and it's actually his niece and nephew, Nathan and Lindy. They're complaining about them not being smart. They're getting bullied on like the school bus by these kids that know how to do word puzzles and different things like that. They're just not very good at anything. They're not smart. And the doctor says, you need to study more. That doesn't work. So he says, I'll tell you what. And they say, you're a scientist, so give us something that'll actually work. You know, he says, okay, I'll do something. So he goes in, he gets some grape juice, and he sets it off to the side, and he says that he's going to give that to the kids, and they'll think, they'll subconsciously think that they're smart. Um, Meanwhile, the doctor gets a phone call. He leaves, and the aliens come in, and they pour the drink down the drain, and they like put their liquid sounds gross, but inside the glass, and it's actually a brain energizer fluid is what they come up with. And yeah, the kids end up drinking it, and it takes a little while for anything to actually happen. They go home and they try to help their little sister Brenda put this dollhouse together. They mess it up, they break it, or the guy does, Nathan does. And yeah, so they're at school one day, and whenever the effects of this liquid stuff starts kicking in, um, Nathan and Lindy start knowing like math problems just off the bat. They immediately like get 100 on one of their tests, and the teacher thinks they're cheating, so he gives them another test. They pass that. They end up correcting the teachers, all this fun stuff, and they actually end up doing like next year's homework for like the next, like all the way through the school year. Like I think next 4 years they do their schoolwork or whatever. So the teachers end up kicking them out of school because they keep correcting the teachers on their grammar work, or like not grammar work, but just on anything, and they end up getting kicked out of school. This caused like an uproar around the town, and all this stuff. They're all over the news, and they run into these FBI agents. The FBI agents say that they need these kids for their help, like for like a military thing, and they're gonna have to dissect their brains. And I remember that when I read that a couple years ago. I thought that was pretty weird. So the kids take off running, they're terrified, and they run into the aliens. And that's as far as I'm gonna go with the plot because I don't want to give away too much. But yeah. They run into the two aliens. They get on a spaceship, and yeah, that's about it. Um, the ending was very predictable. Like I knew what was happening. Like at first, when I first started reading this, I didn't know exactly how these kids were possibly going to get out of this situation. But as like it was unfolding, I remembered. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this, you know. And it was very predictable, and it kind of seemed like it took a long time. And the way they actually, I can't really say that, but there's something happens towards the end that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, like why it happened that way. But excuse me. But yeah, I didn't like this as much as I did when I first read it, but I still think it was okay. The aliens is what makes this book great. These aliens threaten to eat the hearts out of the kids and I think the adults. And they're very graphic about things. Like they say something about like eating the youngest daughter, which is the Brenda. And one of the aliens say something along the lines of, "If you eat the legs, you know, save me one" or something. And it's really really gross. Like it's pretty graphic. Without the aliens, I don't think this book would have done that great, in my opinion. The smart stuff was pretty fun, but nothing crazy. Um, yeah, I give Brain Juice. I still give Brain Juice a 4 out of 5 stars, mostly because of the alien stuff. The alien stuff was very dark, very scary. The aliens were very intimidating. Um, yeah, I think that the climax ending of this book was very rushed, and the very very last part didn't make a lot of sense, like how everything ended, you know. But yeah, Brain Juice I give a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was pretty good. Just not as great as I thought it was. I still give it the same rating as I gave, because I was looking at my Goodreads account and I still gave it a 4 out of 5 stars from back when I read it. I read this in like 2016, so almost 10 years ago. So yeah, or 9 years ago, something like that. So yeah, um, definitely a 4 out of 5 stars for me. I still give it the same rating, like I said. Not much has changed. I just don't feel like I liked it as much. It felt more like if I don't really do decimals when I do my rating, so it's more like a 3.5 out of 5, you know. And 3 is too low. So, you know, with the additional alien stuff, 3.5. But yeah, I'm just going to round it up to a 4, just be even. So 4 out of 5 stars for me, guys. Thank you, guys, and bye-bye.